Traveling this bending road is always an adventure, and I'm glad we can do it together. It's easier together because no matter where we go in life, two things are for certain. One, you will eventually come to a bend in your road, and two, God will always see you through. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and click the subscribe button so that you know when I upload my next video. In this way, we travel together and we encourage each other along the way. Hi, welcome back to the Bending Road. Glad you could join me again, as always. I so appreciate those of you who join me each week and watch the video all the way through, and those of you who comment, and really appreciate you joining me along this bending road. I know some of you join Dave and I on Monday through Thursday for 5:30 prayer time, and boy, I appreciate you guys as well. And I love those of you who join us later in the day, and some of you comment, some of you don't. You know, when the more people who watch, and the more people who watch all the way through, the more people who give a thumbs up, the more people who share the video or comment on the video, the more YouTube thinks, oh, people like this, and so they share it along for more people to see. The other thing that helps is if you watch it all the way through, and at the end when I put in kind of an up next box, and you click on that box and watch that video all the way through, yeah, even if you've seen it before, sometimes a reminder is helpful. But if you do that, YouTube's algorithm thinks, oh, they like that one, they like the next one, and so this is important, we're going to share this channel more. That's not a human process, it's all a computer process. So if you have time and can watch the videos and share them and comment or give a thumbs up, the thumbs up on Facebook doesn't do me much good, but the thumbs up on the YouTube channel does wonders for that. The computer to think that it wants to share this video with more people. The only reason I say that isn't because this channel is all about getting more views, and this isn't monetized or anything like that. I don't get paid for this. I don't have advertising that I get paid for. But I say that so that we share this and encourage one another as we travel together. We aren't made to do this bending road by ourselves. We're made to do it together. And this is just one small way where we can encourage one another. And boy, you encourage me every time I see that you've watched the video. And I hope that I encourage you with my words. So what's the topic for this week? What are we talking about this week? Well, you know, God is just, sometimes, have you ever noticed that sometimes God gets a topic that he thinks you should pay attention to, and so that you hear it, and you hear it, and you hear a scripture about it, then you hear somebody talking about it, and then the preacher preaches it on Sunday, or you hear a song about it, and it's like, okay, God, I get it. This is an important topic. So, and I do think God continues to share that with us until finally we get the hint and something in us changes. That's kind of where I'm at. God has been talking to me about pride and humbling myself. Not in the way like, oh, I think I'm so great and everybody should watch my YouTube channel, but more pride and humility when it comes to where God has me or what God has me doing. And God has been reminding me that sometimes I think I should get my own way. Are you surprised? Do you ever feel like that? You know, we think, oh, God, I want this in life, or I want that, or I think I should, whatever it is, get a raise, get a new job, get to go out to eat, get to go see that movie, get to whatever it is, right? We think this would be right for me, this would be good for me, and so I want that, and I want it now. God reminds me often that I need to humble myself and say, Lord, I don't know. I don't know. Therefore, I trust you and I trust your timing. Boy, this has just been a real time of learning for me. I run into this sometimes when I'm praying for an individual to be healed or for myself to be healed, right? And God reminds me in my time, there's a timing for everything. And in my time, the right answer will come. It's not to say we shouldn't pray. That's not to say we shouldn't ask God. We should, we can, and we should be honest with God about how we feel. But sometimes I get a little pushy. I get a little arrogant and think I should have my way. And God, why haven't I gotten my way in this? There's a couple Bible verses that I've been just mulling over. From Proverbs, it says he mocks the proud mockers, but shows favor to the humble and the oppressed. God, somehow I see that how he mocks the mockers. I see that as kind of when we don't get it, when we don't know our place with God, when we don't humble ourselves before God and let God have his way, some things take longer to learn than others, right? So if I'm saying, no, Lord, I should have my way in this particular situation, he'll say, well, we'll just see how long you can last where you are, before you get the answer to that. Not the case every time. I'm not saying don't hear that this is the way it always is, and that if you don't humble yourself, God will make you wait. I think sometimes that's how God deals with me, because I think that's how I need to be dealt with. If I don't submit to God's authority and God's timing and God's plan, what I think I want, it takes longer to resolve. He mocks the proud mockers, but shows favor to the humble and the oppressed. That's actually quoted in part again in 1 Peter 5:6. God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. So when we humble ourselves before God and submit to God's authority and plan, things resolve a bit quicker. Or maybe it seems like it resolves a bit quicker, right? Maybe it doesn't resolve faster, but because we have submitted to God's way, it just is easier for us to manage, easier for us to wait on God. Matthew 23:12 says, for those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. I talk about this scripture often, and I think of this scripture often as I would rather humble myself, find my place in God's plan, and put myself in that place, than to be humbled by God. And that to me sounds, a bit uncomfortable, right? So to remind myself, no, I'm not in charge here. It's not my will. It's not my way. It's God's plan. It's God's way. Allows me to humble myself, put myself in my place before God does it for me, right? I think a lot of this has come out of a sermon series that I've been working on the Beatitudes. And as I read Matthew 5:5, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. That word meek, we think of as timid or shy, reserved, but it's really not. It's more a matter of being humble before God. Allowing God to have his way, allowing God to move in our lives and not resist that. When things become difficult, I push back against God and say, God, I don't like this. I don't want this difficulty. But if I am meek, if I am humble, then what happens is I say, Lord, you have your way in your timing. And that idea of inheriting the earth, Israel would remember that from the inheritance of the promised land. I really believe that when we allow God to have His will, His way, His timing, His purposes in our lives, and we step back and we don't push against that and fight against that, then we will inherit the blessing that God has for us. God has good for us. God has a plan for us. God has a job for us, a purpose for us and our lives. And when we humble ourselves before God, then we will inherit the blessing that God has for us. May not mean we'll get our way in the end. Don't think, I remind myself often, don't think for a minute that if I humble myself before God, then I'll get my way. It doesn't work that way. If I humble myself before God, I will get God's way, and that's the best way. So what about you? What are you struggling with this week, these days? What are you pushing back against? What are you saying, God, I don't like it this way, I want it that way? What is that thing? What is that thing? Ask God to show you how to take a step back and humble yourself, how to accept the will and the plan that God has for you, rather than pushing for your own timing, your own agenda. I know it's hard. Oh my goodness, I know it's hard. The one thing I don't do well in life is wait. You know, if God gives me a glimpse of a vision ahead, I want it now. If I'm not feeling well and I'm waiting on healing, I want that healing now. If whatever it is, I want it now. I don't wait well. So I get it. I understand. It is hard to wait. We try to make things happen on our own, and God says, just hang in there. Hang in there. I have that blessing for you, but I need you to wait for it. I'm praying for you this week. I'm praying that God's will be done in your life. It's the greatest prayer we can pray when we're struggling to wait for something. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy timing is right. Thy plan is right. Mine is not. Lord, have your way. Again, I've shared this before, a prayer that I learned a long time ago. Lord, get your way where you cannot have your way. Rule and overrule until your perfect will is done. Lord, that is my prayer. That is my prayer. And that's my prayer for those who are struggling to pray that this week. Have a great week, and I will see you next week along the Bending Road. Thank you for watching, and thank you for working together along this journey. Connect with me on social media or on my website at bendingroad.weebly.com. Let me know how I can pray for you as you navigate the bend in your road. I pray that when you see the bend in your road, you will not be afraid, but will take the hand of God and keep walking. You are not alone.